So you've just unboxed and have your Adventure 5M and you're ready to print. But how do we get this into your slicing software? Getting the Adventure 5M into your slicing software is incredibly easy. And there are two methods of doing this, both of which we will go over in the video today. The first method of doing this would be going to the Flashforge website and then downloading Flashforge's version of Orca Slicer. Once you've downloaded this from the Flashforge website, all you need to do is register an account and log in. Once you've registered your account and logged into the Flashforge version of Orca Slicer, you can go to the Device tab and it will ask you if you want to add this device to your account. Now, I've already done that, so it's not going to ask us. But you can see, once we go to the Device tab, this printer is in this version of the slicer, and we can even hit our local files and see all the files right here that are freely available for me to print directly from the slicer. If you have a camera set up, you should have access to this camera view. This is easily the easiest way to get the printer into a slicer. Now, if you don't want to make an account with Flashforge, but you still want to be able to use the machine in Flashforge's version of Orca Slicer, we can still do that. To do this, we just need to go to the front panel of our 85M series 3D printer. Once you're there, go to the settings option and look for the network icon or the Wi-Fi icon. At the very bottom of this menu, you should see an option for network mode. Once there, we just need to enable LAN only mode. And there's a code at the bottom of the screen. Make sure you either write down this code or take your phone and take a picture of it, as we're going to need this in our slicer. At this point, it's also a good idea to go back to your network settings and go to either your Wi-Fi or your Ethernet option. If you're plugged into Ethernet, use your Ethernet option over Wi-Fi. You'll want to take note of the IP address shown in either of these two windows. And for the record, don't be worried about this address. This is an internal IP address and nobody can really do anything with it, as they don't have access to your internal network, or shouldn't. So you don't have to hide this address if you're posting anything online. Now we're back in Flashforge's version of Orca Slicer, and you can see here that we're not logged in with an account. But what we can do is go Devices and then go Add Printer. And we're going to look for the name of our device. And we can see this one right here is on LAN. So we can click this to add this printer to the slicer. Once we select the device that we want to add into the slicer, you see that it's now asking us for the code that we need to use for LAN only mode. So I'll go ahead and copy that code directly in here. Once we hit accept, you should see that that printer is now available in LAN only mode without communicating to the Flashforge servers. Now that our printer is in the slicing software, we just need to go over to prepare. Once we're here, we can drop any files that we want into the slicing software and hit slice plate. Now, I'm not going to go over all the different settings and everything in the slicing software. I'm just showing you how to connect the printer to the software itself. Once we've sliced our file, we can hit print plate and you see that it gives us a list of printers connected to the software to send our files to print. So we'll go ahead and send this to this printer here. And just like that, you can see our printer is now preparing the file to print that we just sent over from the slicing software. Now, before we move on, let's take a second to talk about today's sponsor, PCBWay. If you have a project or need help with manufacturing, PCBWay has a wide range of services that can help you get the job done. Services like custom PCB manufacturing, CNC machining, sheet metal fabrication, and even metal 3D printing. PCBWay also offers industrial-grade SLS and SLA 3D printing. So, do yourself a favor and check out PCBWay to help kickstart your next project or idea at PCBWay.com. The second method we're going to use today to get the Adventure 5M into slicing software is to use the official Orca Slicer branch itself. Keep in mind, there's only one official release source for Orca Slicer. And you shouldn't go to Google and just type in Orca Slicer and open up orcaslicer.net, as this is not the official release source for the slicer. I'll have the release source in the description, but the key note is you want to make sure that you go to the GitHub for the project itself. Once you've installed and opened Orca Slicer, you'll notice that this screen looks quite different. There's no login options or anything else. We're just greeted with a new project or open project. So what we want to start by doing is go to Create New Project. You can see here in the printer profiles that we don't have anything for our Flashforge machines. This is a very important note. We need to pull in a new profile for the Flashforge Adventure 5M. We do not want to hit Create Printer. This would create a blank profile that has none of the settings required to run your Adventure 5M. Instead, what we want to do is go to Select Remove Printer. Once we're at Select Remove Printer, you'll see that a dialog menu has popped up asking you to select the different printers that you may have. All we need to do is go up to the device keyword and type in Flashforge. Once there, you can select the nozzle and the printer for what you'll be adding. Now, I just added this Adventure 5M to the other slicer a second ago. So I'm going to add the 5M Pro with a 0.4 millimeter nozzle and hit confirm. Now, I've already used this slicer before, so it didn't ask me a question that it's about to ask here. It didn't ask me to select the filaments that I want to add for this printer. Now, you can just go through and select the different filament types and variants that you want profiles for the printer that you're importing. Now that we've selected the pre-made printer profile and the different filaments that we want to be included, we need to change the device profile. And we do that by going up here to the Wi-Fi icon, click the Wi-Fi icon, and we need to drop down right here on the host type. And we'll go down to Flashforge. This is a very common mistake that people think because it is a clipper machine that they want to use some of the other options like Octo Clipper. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we click on Flashforge. Once we're there, we just enter the IP address of the machine. And this one is 10.1.0.252. Again, this is an internal IP address, and you don't need to worry about leaking this to anybody, as anybody can't really do anything with it. Once we've input the IP address into the hostname IP field, simply click the cursor out of that field into the device UI. This will unlock your test option. Once we click this, you'll see that our connection to the Flashforge is correct. Now that we know that our connection to the machine is working, we want to go ahead and add an option to the device UI field. Keep in mind, this is only for if you have a camera on your Adventure 5M. So I'll go ahead and copy that into our field now. Once we have that, we can hit OK, and now we can go to the Device tab, and you'll see that our camera is showing in the Device tab for Orca Slicer. For the camera, all we've done is taken the stock stream URL from the Adventure 5M and made sure to put it into the Device UI field. I'll make sure to have this option on screen for you to look at. All you need to do is replace the text that says your IP with the internal IP address of your machine. Now that we have our printer in Orca Slicer, we can go ahead and drag a file in just like before and hit Slice Print. Once the slicing's done, we can hit Print, and you'll notice that it looks a little bit different. This isn't asking us to select any printers or anything like that. Well, Orca Slicer's a little bit different from the Flashforge variant of Orca Slicer, as each individual printer profile is tied directly to its host or IP path. So it knows automatically where you're going to send that file as it's tied to the profile of the printer. In the future, we're going to talk about different options and settings in slicing software. But for today, we're not going to do that. The most important thing for you to do is to be able to connect your printer to your slicing software so you can begin printing. If you're new to 3D printing, don't be overwhelmed by all the different options and settings in your slicing software. Realistically, all you need to do is make sure that you have your printer selected in your printer profile, and then go down to your filament options and select the filament for the type of filament you're going to be using. If you are using a model that has overhangs or arms or anything protruding off it, simply go to your support settings and hit Enable Auto Supports. You can go down here, and it is recommended to use Tree Auto. Then, once you're done, hit Slice and send it off to your printer. So in summary, don't worry about all the other settings. You're not going to master 3D printing overnight. And odds are you're going to have your fair share of failures. But that's not the point. The point of this video is now we have you connected to your slicing software, and you can begin making those first steps into 3D printing. Now that your Adventure 5M is connected to your slicer, it's time to start printing.